Donald Trump has once again been caught, his cover-up exposed, and his panic at an all-time high because the letter that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein, obtained by the Wall Street Journal, that Donald Trump sued, saying wasn't real, it was fake, sued for defamation, has now been made public. It has been leaked after it was obtained by the House Oversight Committee and Robert Garcia, and Donald Trump is losing his mind because not only has it blown open his Jeffrey Epstein scandal, but blown open his legal liability. We're going to get into it all and Donald Trump's response. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into that letter, how it was obtained by the Oversight Committee, and what it means for Donald Trump, I want to start with what Robert Garcia said right before this letter was released on MSNBC right here.
We're going to make the information available as soon as we can. Obviously, we want to make sure that what we get is authentic. We have to have review it. We got to make sure there are no and there's no information that somehow impacts the victims or the survivors negatively. And so all of that's got to be made and assessed very quickly. But I feel confident in our conversations with the Epstein estate that in this next day or so, we should be receiving that book. We're also going to have a team of folks in New York to check the authenticity in person. And so all of that should be happening in the next day or so, and we intend to get out in front and again ask the president the question when he is caught in another lie, saying that this note does not exist. What is he going to tell the American public then when we show the public, the community, the country, and most importantly, the survivors, that this note does exist? I mean, look, I think what James Comer said there is shameful. Let's be really clear. Maxwell is a sexual predator, a trafficker of women and girls. She herself sexually abused women. She's a liar. She is monstrous in her actions. And in fact, all of the survivors that we spoke with over the course of the last few weeks, whether they were in roundtables or groups or at the press conference they had, they were all clear that Maxwell never should have been moved to a prison and facility that actually allows her more freedom, more opportunity to walk and speak to folks within her family or her lawyers. It is shameful that Donald Trump's DOJ, and in fact, his own personal former attorney, had this meeting with Maxwell, allowed Maxwell to go on the record and give her side of the story in public, and essentially give this monster a facility and a place to stay where she was not eligible for in that kind of movement. So we're still demanding answers as to why Donald Trump and Pam Bondi decided to move Ghislaine Maxwell, who never should have been moved out of that prison, into that facility. Now, we can assume it's because he wants Ghislaine Maxwell to somehow maybe forget what she has seen, or perhaps somehow by giving some sort of pardon to her or some sort of reduced sentence, they're going to get her to say what they want. And that's something that we're on and continue to investigate, and we demand answers from the Federal Bureau of Prisons and the DOJ.
If the Oversight Committee was able to obtain this letter that we will soon see in the form that Donald Trump sent it to Jeffrey Epstein in, not the transcript, not an outline by the Wall Street Journal, but the letter itself, it means that there is so much more that can be garnered from this estate. There is so much more that the Oversight Committee can subpoena. And if they were able to get this information out, even with the obstruction of the White House, and remember, James Comer as well, then there is so much more to come, and this is just the beginning. Before we get to it, though, it is important to remember what Donald Trump said after the Wall Street Journal reported about this letter, when it was just alleged in Donald Trump's opinion. I want to take a look at that because it's really important for his legal liability. Donald Trump wrote, "The Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was fake, and if they print it, they will be sued." Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Carolyn Levitt and by President Trump that the letter was fake, but Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, they are going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyway. Donald Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has already learned to be truthful and not rely on sources, probably don't even exist, Trump said. So the sources aren't true. The letter doesn't exist. But here from the House Oversight Committee is that letter. The House Oversight Committee wrote on Twitter, here it is. We got Trump's birthday note to Jeffrey Epstein that the president said doesn't exist. Trump talks about a wonderful secret the two of them shared. What is he hiding? Release the files. And as you can see here, there is that drawing of a woman. There is the signature by Donald Trump, and there is the voiceover alleged mysterious poem in which Donald Trump talked about enigmas to Jeffrey Epstein for his birthday. Not only does this blow the Epstein scandal wide open, this opens Donald Trump up to legal liability and just shows how obvious this cover-up is. The immediate response from Donald Trump, from J.D. Vance, from Carolyn Levitt was, well, show us the letter. And now the letter is public. It will be interesting to see how they respond, but the legal implication here and Donald Trump's effort to silence the media is very important. And it was really just projected out from the beginning, so much so that I think what Lawrence O'Donnell said in response to that lawsuit still holds up and is very important.
Donald Trump will be asked under oath, why did you say that many of them are on the younger side? Donald Trump has used the presidency before to avoid depositions and will surely get the help of the United States Supreme Court, if necessary, to do that again. And so there is no reason to expect any progress in this lawsuit for the rest of the Trump presidency. But the lawsuit Donald Trump filed tonight, if pursued, would be much more dangerous to Donald Trump and the experience that he would have in an under oath deposition than it would be to Rupert Murdoch. In the Wall Street Journal is reporting tonight on the lawsuit filed against the newspaper. The Wall Street Journal says, Trump for years has been a frequent litigant against media outlets, filing suits against a range of leading newspapers and networks. A number of his cases have been dismissed at early stages. Public figures face a high legal bar. In defamation litigation, Supreme Court precedent requires them to prove a defendant knowingly published a false statement or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. Donald Trump seems to love to face questions from reporters. And I say face questions, not answer questions. He seems to love the attention. He seems to love being on camera. And he has absolutely no fear of ever being cornered by a reporter because he never feels himself under any obligation to actually answer the question that was asked, and usually says something completely irrelevant to the question and can go on at great lengths inventing crazy things about his uncle having a relationship with the Unabomber, his uncle, the professor, having the Unabomber as a student, which was complete fiction and insanity dreamed up by Donald Trump in one of his public speaking derangement moments. But none of that today. Nothing from Donald Trump today. Not a word spoken in the direction of a reporter. Donald Trump is terrified of those questions. The guy who is afraid to answer White House reporters' questions today is never going to agree to answer under oath questions about the same thing. That's what we know about Donald Trump. There's nothing Donald Trump works harder to avoid than under oath questions, and that's why the Wall Street Journal's report tonight about the lawsuit reminds you a number of his cases have been dismissed at early stages, and a number of Donald Trump's lawsuits have been dropped by Donald Trump so that he never has to testify under oath in depositions in those lawsuits. A lot of them are just stunts that go nowhere and are intended to go nowhere. A lot of Donald Trump's lawsuits are designed to get him through the news day. Donald Trump's lawsuit refers to the letter reported by the Wall Street Journal as, quote, the non-existent letter. Donald Trump, no doubt, made sure that his vice president shut up very quickly last night after demanding to see the letter. And now Donald Trump takes the legal position, in effect, under oath in his written filing, that it is a, quote, non-existent letter. The letter does not exist. That's the new defense. In his social media post last night, he said that he called up Rupert Murdoch and told him that the letter was fake. Rupert Murdoch has already lost over $700 million in lawsuits because of Donald Trump. Rupert Murdoch lost $767 million judgment for lying about voting machines for Donald Trump. Rupert Murdoch knows that he can lose lawsuits because he's done it before. Rupert Murdoch is a 94-year-old billionaire on his fifth wife who does not want to lose a lawsuit again. Rupert Murdoch knew that Donald Trump was threatening to sue when Rupert Murdoch approved the Wall Street Journal running this story. Last night, in his social media post, Donald Trump said that Rupert Murdoch, quote, stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. That was his attempt, I guess, to insult Rupert Murdoch. And I told you on this program last night that Rupert Murdoch can prevent anything from being published in the Wall Street Journal. Yes, he does have that power. And in Donald Trump's lawsuit today, Donald Trump tells a different story, saying that Rupert Murdoch authorized the publication of the article after President Trump put them on notice that the letter was fake and non-existent. Rupert Murdoch had 2 days, 2 full days.
Donald Trump has put himself maybe in the worst position yet throughout this entire Epstein scandal. He has given away the game that this has always been a cover-up, and it is very clear that Donald Trump has been using whatever power he can get his hands on to try to silence media, to try to silence victims, and to try to keep this story under wraps. It's not going to work. We're going to continue to talk about it in good on Congressman Robert Garcia. He really just deserves a round of applause. If you are not following him or following the House Oversight Committee, please go and do that. This is what happens when we have young leaders who know how to get shit done. Robert Garcia is a superstar in the Democratic Party. His fight should set the example for everyone else, and that's why we're going to continue to highlight it on this show every single day. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.